Okay, how about that? Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Okay. So I am Brendel Logan Charles, the Deputy Supervisor for the town of Ramapo, and this is Miss Teresa Kenny. She is the Town Supervisor of the town of Orangetown. Thank you. And she is our only lady supervisor in the 5 towns, so give her a round of applause. And she is a great leader, and we thank her for her service. So, moving on. We are here giving the public the opportunity to hear directly from your Member of Congress, Michael Lawler, on the issues that matter to you. Teresa and I are going to go over a few basic ground rules for tonight's town hall. You may have seen them at the door on your way in. Teresa?
So to start, I just want to say that tonight is an opportunity for all of us here to hear directly from Mike. So I'm asking all attendees to please show respect, not only for the congressman and for us up here, but for the other people that are in this room. There's an estimated 700 people, and they're here to hear from the congressman. So a couple of rules: no standing, please, unless you are chosen to ask a question. They will bring the microphone over to you, and at that point you can stand and ask the question. So we're asking for respect of one another. So that means no yelling, screaming, whistles, or standing up. So if you violate these rules, you may be asked to leave the premises. So again, this is an opportunity to hear from the congressman. That's why people are here. And if you want to disrespect all the people that are here with you, that's what you're going to be doing if you try to interrupt or interfere with the event tonight.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Teresa. We're also asking for folks not to use recording devices except for credentialed members of the press who are seated in the back, and for the media in the back. Please remember to stay seated during the course of the town hall unless you're a photojournalist pre-approved to move around. Now, the purpose of this event, as we already said, is to showcase how some groups will try to disrupt a town hall mounted bipartisan. We're not here for that purpose. We're here to hear the congressman and engage in substantive dialogue. May I finish, please? Who knows the end of this saying? You can get more with honey than you can with. Thank you. Let's use some honey tonight, folks, and let's listen, because we're all adults here, and we're here to hear what he has to say, and you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. You will have an opportunity, ma'am, to ask questions. Please allow me to finish my opening remarks. Thank you. As a Democrat, I was shocked to learn that some folks here are planning to try and disrupt this town. Certainly not folks here. Rather, we're here to hear from Mike. Teresa?
So again, I'll just remind you that disruptive behavior or inappropriate language will be grounds for expulsion from the town hall. I am going to say that when you ask whoever gets chosen for a question, we're trying to keep your questions to 30 seconds or less. Anything longer than that is not a question, but it's a statement. In order to get a number of topics, the congressman will answer 1 or 2 questions per topic. So please make your questions count. Brendel.
I'm sorry, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to sit down, please. Sir, I have to ask you to please sit down.
No, that's rejected.
Sir, I have to ask you to please sit down one more time. After you remark.
Okay, this is not a town hall meeting in the sense of a public meeting. This is a private event. So you can
ladies and gentlemen, I think that we will just continue, Teresa and I, and what we're going to do is get this show on the road.
Good.
For those of the folks here that are absolutely in perfect decorum, decent, and in order, please allow our Congressman, Michael Lawler, to come to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here with all of you. Appreciate all of you coming out tonight to join us for the first of 4 announced town halls. Before we begin, I'm going to ask Sean Glendenning, who works in my office. He's the general counsel, serves in our Veterans Affairs program. Ask him to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please tell me you're not objecting to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us start with the Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to a great conversation tonight and answering your questions. Before we get to the questions, I'll be very brief. I'm just going to make a general statement. It has been a great honor to serve as your member of Congress for the last 2+ years, representing the 17th Congressional District of New York in Washington, and having the ability to serve on the House Financial Services and Foreign Affairs Committee. This year, I was appointed to serve as chair of the Middle East and North Africa Subcommittee, which is a great honor, certainly, and given the challenges that we're dealing with around the globe, and certainly in the Middle East, something that I am immensely proud of and certainly focused on. During my time in Congress, I've been rated the 4th most bipartisan member of Congress. I've also been rated the most effective freshman member of the 118th Congress. And that is precisely because I've been able to get things done on behalf of our community, including passing 11 pieces of legislation, 6 of which were signed into law by President Biden. And the fact is, not many people can actually say that. Our prior representative got exactly 1 bill passed to rename a post office. So to those of you who feel that you're not being represented, the fact is that I have been doing the job effectively on behalf of our district and working with folks in both parties, as I always have and always will.
Oh, good.
And the fact is that we as a country, whether people like the outcome of an election or not, the fact is that we are a strong, united country. We are a strong, united country that is rooted in shared values, shared beliefs, and an ability, if you're willing to listen to each other, to get things done. And for those of you that are here tonight, because you actually want to ask questions and engage in conversation, that's why I'm here. And I'm happy to answer your questions and look forward to it. So with that, We will begin the process, as I always have at these town hall meetings. It is a random draw, and we will be calling out your ticket.
Before we start, I'd like to ask you a personal question. So, there's a lot of proposed legislation, bipartisan legislation, to either restrict or prohibit stock sales from people of Congress. So, I'd just like to get your position on that.
On the issue of banning stock trading in Congress, I fully support banning stock trading. I've been a co-sponsor of that bill both in the 118th and now again in the 119th. I don't care what party you belong to. The fact is, if you are a member of Congress, you are aware of information that the general public just is not aware of, period. And so, on the issue of banning stock trading, it should be banned. I fully support that legislation and hope that we can bring it to the floor for a vote.
He is now screening the tickets, ma'am. There are no names on the tickets, and numbers will then be called, and then he will come around for you to ask your question. Thank you.
The ticket number is 439358.
Everybody has a
439358.
You can't see. People are saying.
I can't see him, no. That's not our number, though. I was able to see him as
Yeah. If we can bring the house lights up a little bit.
That's great. Can you see that?
Yes. And that wasn't on.
Teresa, can you just repeat that, please?
The first number is 439358.
Thank you for the opportunity. So you describe yourself as a moderate, yet you support all of the policies that this authoritarian administration is putting forward, including tax cuts for the corporations and ultra wealthy, the tariffs that are going to make everything more expensive for us, kidnapping and deporting 2-year-olds who have cancer and sitting there. So my question is, none of this is helping us. We're getting hurt. We in the community are being harmed by this. What are you doing to stand in opposition to this administration? And what specifically are you doing that warrants the label moderate?
Again, my record speaks for itself. I have been rated the fourth most bipartisan for a reason, which is a very simple fact, that unlike many of my colleagues, I actually do work across the aisle. I actually do sit down with my colleagues. There's not a single local elected official who can honestly say that I have not sat down with them and worked with them as of their party. There's not a single one of my Democratic colleagues in the Congress who can say that I don't do it. When it comes to folks, if you want me to answer the questions, let the question be asked, and then listen to the answer. If you're just going to yell back and forth, the time is going to run pretty quick. So folks, when it comes to the economy, okay, we have an affordability crisis. This crisis didn't just start We've been dealing with it for
Joe
the last
Biden's
4
fault.
years. Everything went up.
Man.
The cost of groceries, the cost of housing. For instance, in Rockland County, the average mortgage cost went up $1,000 a month. That's over $12,000 a year on an annual basis. Okay? And so, what we're dealing with is trying to reverse a lot of this. What happened? What happened? What caused it? What caused record inflation? $5 trillion in new spending in the first 2 years of the Biden administration is what gave us record inflation. And so, when you have record inflation, you have to be able to curtail inflation. So what happened? Interest rates went up, right? And that drove up mortgage costs. You have to be able to reverse that. So you bring down interest rates, you bring down spending. Right now we are 36 trillion in debt. We are spending 7 trillion on an annual basis, with 2 trillion in deficit spending and 1 trillion in interest payments on our debt. At the end of this year, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is going to expire. And if the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expires, do you know what will happen? The standard deduction will be cut in half. That will be the largest tax increase in American history. The corporate tax rate is set at 21%, and I don't support lowering it. I don't support changing the corporate tax rate. I do support lifting the cap on salt, which directly impacts
that benefits
all of us
the
in this
wealthy.
room. Under the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, the state and local tax deduction was capped at $10,000
By
per
Trump.
individual. And that was passed by a Republican Congress and signed by President Trump. I didn't support it then, and I don't support it now. And that is why, as we negotiate the reconciliation bill, I have been working to lift the cap on salt. That will provide immediate tax relief to all of us in this room.
It's not
Prior
true.
to 2017, 50% of households itemized their deduction in our district. After the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, it was down to about 18% of households itemizing their deduction. Most people chose to take the standard deduction. I want to lift the cap on salt because all of us know our property taxes are among the highest in the nation. And so that is critically important. That is a big proponent of the bill that we are in the process of negotiating right now. And so that is, folks, I was answering the tax question. With respect to tariffs. Tariffs are obviously something that has been a big point of discussion for many years. Chuck Schumer and Bernie Sanders both previously on the record said that they supported increasing tariffs. And part of the reason is because other countries have had significantly higher tariffs, barriers to entry, and price controls on U.S. goods. And when you look at, for instance, Europe has price controls on U.S. prescription drugs. U.S. prescription drug costs are significantly higher. U.S. prescription drug costs are significantly higher because we are subsidizing Europe. Europe puts price controls on U.S. drugs. If you want to pay higher drug costs, then I guess you want Europe to keep their price controls in place. Is that what you're arguing for? At the end of the day, we need a negotiation between our country and other countries to reduce overall tariffs, to reduce barriers to entry for U.S. goods and products, including cars, including agricultural products. We want to be able to sell those.
Can you
in
shut
other
up?
countries. But when you
I
have
can't
Europe,
hear. You're disrespectful.
American capital coming in,
You're disrespectful. Shut up so we can hear. I can't hear.
US cars coming in, that's not fair trade. So So negotiating a fair trade deal is critically important, and that's what we're in the process of doing.
Charles is cool. Numbers ready?
Okay, this is next one, numbers 280028.
Can you repeat that, please, Teresa?
280028.
Nobody can see it.
Thank you so much. I'm very nervous, and I appreciate you taking my question. My father did serve in the military, and I presently have family that's in the military. He never got it done. He fought the war chief. So my question is, how can we let somebody head our military who can't even control it?
Came out, the use of signal to communicate any classified or sensitive information was wrong. Never should have happened. There should be significant safeguards put in place to ensure that that does not occur. The secretary was confirmed by the Senate. The president is not firing him. And so the question to me is on the actual military preparedness and readiness. Okay? And thus far, on the operations that the military has conducted under Secretary Hegseth, those operations themselves have gone well. If you look at, now, what I find interesting here is that we look at the decision-making of cabinet secretaries. When it comes to the military, in the last administration, Secretary Austin oversaw the disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan that resulted in the death of 13 U.S. If you do not believe there should be accountability for military operations, then why are we demanding a resignation based on a communication? The communication itself should not have occurred. And my view has been the administration made that clear when it came out, and they said, the White House said that was wrong, it should not have occurred.
It was illegal.
No, they didn't.
So the objective is to make sure, A, that does not happen again, but B, more importantly to me, that the military operations are what is paramount. And that those making the decisions, they got lucky. Sir, we have a terrific military of trained professionals. They got lucky, they did their job. Right? The fact is that, as I said, they should not be using signal to communicate any classified or sensitive information, period. And that's it.
Spin the wheel. This wheel of fortune. Yes. Totally. Totally. That's pretty good.
439305.
That's pretty good. Because you can do it. Yeah, sure. This is great. Yep.
You supported a budget that cut Medicaid and education in our district. How does that serve your constituents?
So the reconciliation process that we're undertaking right now, in order for that process to start, you have to pass a budget resolution. The budget resolution put together top-line numbers that talks about potential savings of $1.5 trillion over 10 years. Over the next 10-year window, we're spending $86 trillion projected. 86 trillion, this has nothing to do with Elon Musk. We're projected to spend $86 trillion over the next 10 years, okay? We're spending roughly $7 trillion a year. We're running $2 trillion budget deficits on an annual basis, and we're paying $1 trillion in interest on our debt at $36 trillion. Both parties are responsible for this mess that we're in financially.
Answer
Both
the
parties
question.
over the last 20 years, have both parties, sir, ma'am, I'm giving you the context so that you actually understand the process, okay? The fact is, over the last 20 years, we have increased our debt by $30 trillion. Okay, $30 trillion in 20 years. That's not sustainable for any of us. Our children and our grandchildren are going to be saddled with that debt. And that will have a profound impact. That will have a profound impact on the vital services that we all rely on. So when you're talking about the issue of Medicaid, okay? Sir, hey, do not speak to my staff like that. If you want to leave, you can leave now. Everybody show everybody a little bit of respect here, please. Okay? I always show people respect. Two-way street.
Congressman, can we ask that people please put with the videos of staff?
Folks, you can take your anger out on me, that's fine. Treat my staff with respect, okay? They show up every day to serve this community. They don't need to be attacked, yelled at, berated. It's unnecessary. When it comes to Medicaid, I've been very clear. I am not cutting benefits for any eligible recipient, period. The fact is that our community relies on these vital programs. The IDD community, our seniors, children, single mothers. There are a lot of people across our community who need these programs. And we want to make sure that they are protected. But the fact is that when you are coming up with a budget resolution, it's a top-line number. The question is, what can get 218 votes as part of a reconciliation bill? And I've been very clear, I am not changing the FMAP floor from 50% federal share to 45% federal share. I'm not changing it to block grants or per capita caps. I'm not putting work requirements on the disabled, period. We're not cutting DISH, for instance. So So we will make sure that this program is protected. There is about 25 of us within the conference who have been very clear with leadership. We've met with the president about it. We've met with the administration.
Good luck.
And we will continue to make sure that as we negotiate the tax bill, that we absolutely safeguard these vital services and programs. But I will also be clear about something. If you are an able-bodied adult without any dependents, work requirements are imperative. Because the objective of Medicaid, folks, Medicaid is a means-tested program that is intended to help people who need it. It is not intended for those who do not need long-term support. It is not intended for somebody to stay on it permanently. So if somebody is an able-bodied adult, they should certainly try, to get a job and work. And by the way, that is something that Bill Clinton championed in the 90s and Democrats fully supported. And they should support. Now, when it comes to illegal immigrants, in New York State, $1.2 billion of our taxpayer money has been spent on Medicaid. I'm sorry, that is not a proper use of taxpayer money. Period. Furthermore, the Biden administration changed the eligibility verification rules from a quarterly basis to an annual basis. If somebody, I'm telling you the facts, you can not like it, but that is the fact. They changed the rules, and so that alone would save upwards of about $200 billion for the program and the very people who rely on it. We want to make sure Medicaid is protected for every single person who needs that vital service, and not losing, which CMS, the Center for Medicaid Services, says on an annual basis they're losing $50 billion in fraudulent payments. And so we want to make sure that you stop that and you protect these vital programs. Zero 58111.
Thank you for taking my question. I want to build on the question about Medicaid in the budget resolution that you voted for. $880 billion is targeted to be cut in 10 years from mandatory spending of the House Committee on Energy and Commerce. The total projected outlay of that committee, as per the Congressional Budget Office, is $8.8 trillion. If you back out Medicaid, the balance outlay is $581 billion. If you back out Medicaid, CHIP, which I'm sure you know is children's health insurance, as well as the budget neutral items, the balance is $135 billion. Where are you going to find $880 billion other than from Medicaid?
Budget reconciliation, it is the Senate number that governs, not the House number. The Senate number that they passed just 2 weeks ago was $4 billion total. $4 billion total across the entirety of the government. Not $1.5 trillion, $4 billion. The objective to me has always been, you have to find 218 votes. And I can tell you right now, there will not be 218 votes to cut Medicaid eligible recipients. There is a whole group of us that, going back to last year, and then in January, we made it very clear to leadership. I met with the president at the White House with a group of about 20. We made it clear to the president. The president actually agreed with us about not wanting to cut Medicaid. The issue is getting a budget resolution, which was the first step in the reconciliation process, passed. That's what we did. We passed a budget resolution that has a framework. As far as I'm concerned, that is as good as the paper is written. The issue is the actual reconciliation bill. That is the bill that matters. That is the one that will determine what, if any, changes there are to any spending. And the question will be, can you get to 218 votes? I've been very clear. I will not support a reconciliation bill that cuts Medicaid benefits to eligible recipients, and I will not support a reconciliation bill that does not lift the cap on salt. Period. I will vote no.
Ma'am, we said no yelling out, please.
The states run the Medicaid program.
Okay, the number is 439188. 439188.
Taking my question, I want to follow up on some other things that have been said, and I ask that people let me finish, please, and then you answer my question. On Friday, this administration reported 3 children, ages 2, 4, and 7, who are U.S. citizens. The 4-year-old with a rare form of metastatic cancer receiving treatment and deported without medication, and all without consultation with their families, attorneys, or physician. All of the families were complying with law, a routine check-in, only to be detained and then deported. These continuing illegal actions by the administration cannot be tolerated by Congress. But you said you are not concerned with authoritarianism, since there are 3 equal branches of government on the Brian Lawler show on Friday when I heard you. You're consistently seen as a bipartisan member of Congress, but your actions speak louder than your words. When you uphold and adhere to the Constitution, where is your line on all of these illegal actions?
I said the other day, when I was on CNN actually, when the Supreme Court ruling came out, 9-0 against the administration with respect to the deportation of Mr. Abrego Garcia. And I said that the administration should abide by the Supreme Court ruling, period. If are as co-equal branches of government. Okay, it's not superior, it's not the executive above the legislature or coast. Let me explain, please. It's not one branch above the other. They are all co-equal. And what has happened over many administrations is executive power has become condensed in the executive. And I fundamentally believe both Congress and the judiciary have to reassert their rightful power. With respect to the deportation of U.S. citizens, that should not happen. They should be immediately returned, and the administration should facilitate their return. Now, as the Supreme Court ruled on the case of Mr. Abrego Garcia, they said there was a court order prohibiting his deportation to El Salvador, despite him being an El Salvador national. And they said that he should not have been, and I agree with that, because you had a court order. They also said that the administration should facilitate his return and go through the deportation process.
That's all we want.
And that's exactly what they should do. They should follow the administrative law. They should follow the court orders, period. I fundamentally believe that. And obviously, the courts are going to weigh in again here. And what you will have, if the administration does not facilitate the return of both either a U.S. citizen or, in the case of Mr. Abrego Garcia, you will have the courts take significant action, holding numerous people in contempt. And that will happen if they do not abide by the court.
What are you doing?
I have, and I just did again in front of you. I said they should be returned. I just said that. If you take the opportunity to listen instead of yelling, you might actually be
So can you repeat that for a moment, please?
280051.
Okay. Go on to the next one.
058132. 058132.
Bingo.
Okay, my question, I want to follow up on the last question. You've told us what the administration should do. Our question to you is, what is Congress going to do to help enforce what should be done by the administration?
To the administration with respect to the issue pertaining to the deportations where there is a court order, and believe fundamentally they should abide by it. If they do not, the mechanism for enforcement of that is through the court, and the court will take action to enforce their order. If then they still do not adhere to a court order, then Congress certainly would have purview for oversight to engage in oversight activities. But on that particular on that particular case, the Mr. Abrego Garcia case, the president was actually asked about it yesterday, and he did say that they should abide by it. And so I think what you will see, if they do not, the court will intervene to enforce their orders. And that, folks, that is the process. That is the process. The court has a court order. The court will be the one that intervenes to enforce their court order. That is the process by which, as co-equal branches of government, we undertake. If they do not then abide by it, Congress has oversight responsibility and should utilize it.
$439,274. 439,274.
Rebecca Fennell. I have a rather different topic, so I apologize if people don't want to change the subject at all. But my question is about R.K. Jr., whom I assume I'm pretty sure you voted for him.
That's
and
right.
I wonder, do you honestly?
I did not. The Senate is the one that can.
Oh, that's true, I'm sorry. But do you think, I apologize for that, do you think he is the right man for that job? And do you approve of what he has been doing, any changes it's going to make to our medical care?
So on the issue of vaccines, for instance, I've been very critical of many of his statements, especially statements pertaining to autism. I think obviously it is certainly something that all of us should want, research on causes of autism or why we have seen over the last 20 plus years a significant increase in the number of autism cases. But I fundamentally believe in the efficacy of vaccines. I do think vaccines, by and large, have done more to cure diseases as well as prevent illnesses, especially among children and adults.
Yeah.
And so I think it is imperative when we're talking about vaccines that we do so based on the science. And while I do believe there should be robust conversation, as science provides for and should, because there's constant research and they're always learning and they should learn new things. When it comes to our food, I do actually agree with many of the things he has talked about and some of the harmful impacts that some of the dyes, for instance, in our food. If you look at the announcement they came out with, they are now following Europe in terms of banning some of these petroleum-based dyes to be used in our food. And I think that's a good thing. I actually support that, and I think he's right to raise it. I have disagreed with him on a number of decisions that have been made out of the Department of Health and have written him already numerous letters with respect to, for instance, cuts to that would impact the World Trade Center Health Fund. I and my New York Republican colleagues pushed back hard against that. We went to the White House immediately. They were able to reverse the decisions. When it comes to, for instance, cuts to HIV funding, I have been opposed to that. The fact is that eradicating HIV is something we should all support. It is something that is vital not only around the globe when you look at programs like PEPFAR, but it is critical for our LGBTQ plus community here in the United States and around the globe. I have pushed back against his proposed cut to the suicide hotline when it comes to the LGBT community. I do not support, folks, Yelling out really doesn't change anything. The fact is that where I disagree, I have no problem saying it and pushing back against the things that they're doing. I'm constantly in touch with the administration. Now, here is how this process is going to work. The administration is making recommended changes. They are putting forth cuts that they want to make. Over the next few months, between reconciliation, a rescissions package, and fiscal year 26 appropriations, Congress is going to weigh in heavily on every decision that they are trying to make at an administrative level. Some of them we will agree with. Some of them we will disagree with. Some of them will require folks like me pushing back against it. And that is the process that is undertaken when the administration seeks to withhold funds or cut programs through these layers that we're dealing with right now, reconciliation, rescission, and appropriations. That is where we are going to be weighing in heavily, in addition to the oversight that the committees engage with on a weekly basis.
Yes, what about that?
Zero 58100. 058100.
Teresa, can you repeat it one more time, please?
058100.
Can you call on your number?
Yep.
439183. 439183.
We got a winner.
439183.
We got a winner.